Oh, we made it.
Yeah, that's just as awful as I thought.
Awful as you thought. That's good. So we joined by a lot of people, I see. 40 countries.
40 countries represented among the participants that signed up for the webinar. So that's huge.
So hopefully they're going to get some value out of this, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But we're going to do our best.
Yeah.
So let's get it rolling, huh?
Right into the presentation.
Just a quick introduction when you're finding it up. So,
my name is Anders Sono. I'm the product manager for Power BI Visuals here at ProfitBase. So we'll see some of the financial reporting metrics that we make at the end of this webinar. And with me is
Stig Sandvik. I'm the CEO of ProfitBase, and called the Stig, and you called the Matrix or the Matrix
guy.
Man.
Yeah, at least internally.
Yeah.
Okay, so today in the webinar, we're going to cover financial reporting with the CFO-Platform and Power BI. So how we can use these tools in financial reporting. So let's just jump ahead. There we go.
We can change slide.
Yep.
Some of the agenda. We're going to do a quick introduction of ProfitBase very shortly, and then a little bit look at the goals that we're going to want to achieve when you do reporting. Some of the extract, transform, load type of solution. And then we have the CFO platform itself, and what that does, and look at the visualization and see when you get it into the end reports, how does that work? And some summary and key takeaways. And we do have a Q&A in the end. And I brought this fantastic T-shirt.
Yep.
So the first good question coming in will get a Ron T-shirt. So it's in Norwegian, but the ones that doesn't understand it, then it says the king of spreadsheet.
So let's continue. We'll do just manual clicking.
A little bit bragging slide.
Yeah.
Who's our customer? We've been working for many years with different type of customers. It's not just a particular industry, for example, retail, but we do work across different industries. So it could be project-oriented, consultant-type business. It could be product-oriented businesses, and done that for now almost 30 years. But some of the things we're going to show today is obviously more new.
Yeah.
But let's jump into that.
So when I'm doing demos for my customers or the people who are interested in reporting, financial reporting in Power BI, they usually register for a demo for the visual itself to see how that can help create reports that look similar to what they're used to and having in Excel, but they want to move that into Power BI. So the end goal is a quick, good-looking report with that's flexible, dynamic, where you can slice into the data you want to investigate.
And they want to have it to look the way they used to.
Yeah.
They very normally when you do external reporting, you want to have it in a certain way, and that is important.
How they look is very important for most of our customers.
Yeah.
So how do you get to this step? And that's where a lot of my demos start with, this is what they want. How do they get there? And their situation is something like this. The common issues that they have, or it's not an issue that they have an ERP system, but they have a system with data, with actuals and some different dimensions, some P&L structures, everything in there. They're able to extract that data either through an API or some simple download or connect to it, and they connect that to a Power BI report, more or less directly. And I'm not saying everyone is doing this, but some do. in that system, there might be a structure that looks something like this, a long list of P&L items on how the financial report should look. But when it comes to the reporting in Power BI, that's going to be sent around to different stakeholders. They might want the report to look differently. Something like this, which is a bit more concise, or it could be even bigger, but it's different. That's the main point. So how do you change those structures? How do you change different dimensions that you have? How do you build hierarchies in, let's say, your organizational dimension? Well, that's where you kind of have a missing piece. So there's different options to how to kind of close that gap. One alternative is that I see is a lot used. There are some alternatives. One of them is not do the change directly in the ERP system. Changing a structure in the ERP system is going to have a lot of implications on the really set structures that they have in there.
The current system, the current running of the business. So you don't want to play around too much in there.
And if you're on the reporting side, you most likely won't even have access to change all these, or at least you shouldn't do that. So some do make the changes in Excel or SharePoint lists where they can kind of build out their full chart of accounts, do some changes to the naming, do some different mapping. It's possible, but as we see here, there should be enough competence in the finance department to do that.
That's a plus.
That's a plus. It's self-service friendly because it's right there in the file, so you can just go in and change it. But over time, it's not a manageable thing because the spreadsheet can kind of grow out of proportions. If you have many of these different files lying around for different parts of dimensions, it's going to be very hard to maintain all at once and know where they are, and also make them play nicely together. Another alternative is data warehouse. So you take the ERP data into data warehouse, you maintain it, change it, maybe add some dimensions to it, and connect that to the report. That's usually not a competence that is in a financial department. It's not that self-service friendly unless you know how to do that, unless you're a data engineer. But it is manageable over time because it's a solid structure, at least it could be. But that means if you want to change anything in any dimension, you need to find someone who has competence to do that and access to the data warehouse to code that in.
And it's typical middle of the reporting cycle, you find something that you need to change, a new account coming in. You don't really want to be reliable on anybody else to do the changes so you can get the reports out, even if it's a weekend.
So what we suggest is having or using our CFO-Platform that we're going to show more on just a second. But what you can do then is you can add data, you can add dimensions, you can change them, you can maintain them all in one system, and they're all consumable by Power BI. And you can change everything in here. You can have different versions of all dimensions, and you can change them as much as you want without influencing the ERP system itself. So you'll have a kind of free copy of all dimensions that you can work on the way you want them to look. So we think that our system is simple enough to use because it's a graphical visual interface. So there should be competence in the financial department. It should be self-service friendly, and it's manageable over time.
So
just a second, I'll just check the sound for a second.
Hopefully they sound a little bit better, but
maybe you can try to talk a bit more into the microphone. So the CFO-Platform. And the thing is, if you have a data warehouse already, you can still combine that with the CFO-Platform. So
Not either or.
It's not either or. If you have some structures there, you can reuse them, but then you can maintain them in the CFO platform. So you don't need to be a data engineer to go into the correct tables, the correct views to create it. You can just use the CFO platform.
Right.
So these are the alternatives, and we'll focus on the last one going forward.
So this slide is just showing a little bit kind of the context of obviously the source system that you see in the bottom here is just an example. There could be many, many others. So we're going to look at the ETL, kind of what does that mean? I know it's a mix of audience today. It's both a lot of finance people, but it's also some technical and more Power BI expert type audience. So we're not going to dwell too deep on it, but it's a little bit important to understand some of the limitation and challenges with the ETL and getting out the data from your system, in essence. I'm going to show a little bit what the ProfitBiz platform is doing and can help with. We'll also mention that we do our one of our main solution is the budgeting and forecasting solution. So we're not going to go into that portion of our architecture, but it's built on the same platform that we have, so which is a local platform as well. So we're building different type of solutions on top of it.
Yeah. And finally, we'll go to the financial reporting in Power BI.
Yeah. So this illustration is a question I get quite a lot. So is having reports in the different ERP system, different source system is obviously good, but it has some challenge as well. It comes to competence. If you are, you need to train yourself and your staff in all the different types of reports in the different system, which requires a lot. You will also have to have license in the different system to be able to build your reports. So what we've done in our solution is yes, we have reports in our platform in general, for example, for budgeting, forecasting, or risk and so forth. But if you're going to do your self-service type reports where you're going to build your own dashboard combining with other data, then typically we recommend using the best of breed approach, where you take it out to the platform. It's like common structure in the platform, and then you export that to your preferred reporting tool, BI tool. In our case, we use most of the Nordic countries is using Power BI, but it could be Qlik, it could be others. So that is just as an example. But Power BI we do have a stronger connection to since we have some of the plugins to Power BI. And one of the things that when we did build this plugin to Power BI, why did we do that? Yeah, we did actually have a separate reporting tool, BI tool in the past. So we had it like for 10 years and 10 years. And then 2020, we kind of decided, I think Microsoft is going to do a large push on the reporting side. And we think it was very hard to go up against Microsoft on this particular area. But we also saw if we're going to rely on Power BI to do financial reporting, that was lacking some key functionality in areas. So that's where we start exploring what does it require to be able to report in Power BI. And then we made a plugin to Power BI to be able to do and close the gaps that the in native matrix is having. Yeah. And so this one is just going to illustrate. So this is using some AI images, of course. So this is a town with Lego bricks. That's can illustrate your source system. It has a lot of data points. It's built together and it's finished city. The problem is that when you export it, your APIs and your different APIs could be very different. It could be some very sophisticated, good APIs where you have the structure already in place, but most of the system is actually just giving you back your bricks. So that's a challenge. You want to do your reporting and you're getting bricks. And then what I'm going to do with this? You actually have to compile them in a way that you can consume them for reporting. So then the next step comes into play. How you do you do your transformation and the loading into whatever system you're going to use afterwards? And how do you maintain and build your final visualization, for example, in Power BI? So we're going to focus a little bit on the middle steps and a little bit on the end steps. But this is a good illustration of that.
Yep.
So the two parts, when we do talk about, when you do select an ERP system, an example, and you're going to kind of source a new ERP system, most of the expert will say, yeah, but we have an API. And then we say, oh, okay, yeah, that's good, fine. But it's a lot of different APIs, and the quality of the APIs could be extremely different variants of that. So what we're saying is connecting to the API is the easy part. That's the technical part. You have your tokens, you have your authentication and so forth. That is maybe 10% of the work. What is the main hard work is to restructure the data again so you can actually consume it in reports. So we have a lot of experience with a lot of different systems to do that, and we have our own template and solution, how that structure should be to consume it into the platform. So that makes it much easier, but still you need to go through that exercise there.
So no matter which ERP system you use, it's going to end up looking the same in our structure.
Yeah.
So it can be compared to any other ERP systems. If you have multiple systems across your organization, for instance.
Yeah, so that's a very important point. That's when you have multiple systems, to combine it into one structure that you can report on makes it much easier. So a couple of things we're going to show on the next slide. It's not intentional that you're going to be able to read this. It's just an illustration of one of the flows. So this is, I think it's 30% of a flow just for importing accounts. So this is just to import accounts. And then you think, okay, this was a lot. There's a lot of steps. There's a lot of transformation. There's a lot of looping of information. And that's what actually it requires to get the accounting. And this is for one example where the API is very broad. So you need to do a lot of compilation afterwards. So this is more of the challenging one. But that's an example of how you do that. So got a couple of summaries here. Data is not stored in the same format in the source system, so it's not an out of box if you don't do that. If we do it the second time and third times, it is a repeat, but the first time is for a lot of people will be unfamiliar. And then we're seeing more and more, especially the one that is in the cloud. They don't allow you to pull as much data as you would like to. If you have an on-prem solution, you are allowed to do kind of whatever you want if you want to load all the data or something. But if you have a cloud type solution, they typically put a rate limit on it. So you cannot pull as much data as you want every hour, every second. So that means that when you pull over your data, either it's the incremental updates, so it's what's changed since last day or last hour, or you do a bulk load, you need to be able to pick up when you kind of meet your limits. You need to be able to pick up the rest of the data and make sure it's complete. So it's just that makes it a little bit challenging in some cases.
So you need a lot of logic just to make sure you take every bit by bit to make the full data extracted.
Exactly. And of course, it's profit base is a combination of technical people and finance people. So in-house, we have both sides, but normally the technical people is the one that is very good at connecting to the sources and kind of setting up the pipeline. But when it comes to you need the business domain to understand the data. So if you are a finance person, you understand much better the data, and also you understand the structure. That means that you also need to have some knowledge on the source system, how it's used, and so on. Yeah. So, and yeah, I said this view system. And then one important that we shouldn't underestimate is that when certain action needs to be taken. So, for example, if you have a new account that is, done in one of the source system,
it's a new account created by the
accountants or kind of the finance people in one of the entities, and then how do you pick that up? Because we see too often that you end up with a discrepancy with the source system and your reporting, and then it's kind of a scramble to figure out where is the difference. And if you have a system that can, for example, notify you, take next slide, can notify you and create a task every time you see an add a new account for this legal entity, please do the mapping, this department is changed or something like that, then you can have a system that helps you maintain your structure as you go, instead of having this scramble in the end of the month when the report doesn't add up.
So you can be ahead of the errors there instead of first reporting, then finding the error and working your way back. Yeah. So now I'm going to go to the CFO-Platform. First, just show you the components of it, and then we'll go into the actual platform itself. So in the platform, you can first import dimensions, and then you're free to do whatever you want with them and change them and whatever you want. You can also import and define different report setups. So it could be your P&L, it could be your P&L version 2, it could be your balance sheet statement, anything you want to use in your reporting. And we also have different versions or versioning, which means you can have different versions of the same dimensions. A good use case for that would be if you're reporting on current year, you want to use the organizational structure where all the departments are kind of in a hierarchy. You want to use that as is because that's the truth today. But if you want to create a budget for next year where you do some restructuring, you're moving around or combining some departments into a new structure, you would want to be able to plan all that, but you don't want to mess up the current working.
You're still in a reporting cycle, right? So you
on all your actuals.
Yeah.
So, but in the budget case, looking forward, you would want to make a separate dimension, and that's just a different version of the same dimension, which is isolated from the first one. That can be very useful in many cases. Then all of this data can be exported and connected to Power BI to build a dashboard that contains the different dimensions you need, the structures you need to present the numbers as you want to present them, and be able to slice them on the dimensions you're interested in slicing them on. So
let's go into the system and get a flavor of how that is done.
So this is the platform itself. On the left side, you have a menu, and everything under administration is kind of the core of the platform.
It's common for the different solution you build on it.
Yeah. So all of this is being used either directly in a report if you export this to consume in Power BI, but it's also used in different solutions that we have pre-built that you can put on top of the platform. What we're going to look at now is report setup and dimensions and a bit on version. But inside dimension, you have a list of all dimensions imported or possible to import. So there are some that are mostly fixed, some you need to import from your ERP system. And you have some free dimensions that you can configure depending on your requirements. So if we start by looking at the account structure, you can see if we drill all the way down here, you can see the individual accounts coming from a chart of accounts. And then you're able to create different groupings or different hierarchy levels on top of these accounts. And you can simply make those by clicking on a plus sign. Then you can create a new account or a new group, and you can drag and drop these around where you want to place them.
What happens with the actuals when you do that? Do you screw up anything or does it follow?
No, the actuals still work the way they are supposed to, because you're not affecting any of the actual data. You're just changing where the numbers connected to this account is going to be shown in a hierarchy when you do the reporting. So maintaining this is a simple drag and drop and build out the hierarchy you're interested in using in your reporting. You can have different languages for this. You can import some accounts with account ID, account name, but you're still free to change the names of these. If they don't make sense from the ERP system side, you can override the name. Everything will still work as before.
And we can also add attributes so we have some attributes to the dimensions here, but it could be other properties that you put in. Yep. For example, when you're doing ESG reporting and you want to classify your different organization as certain, the non-sustainable, sustainable, and so forth, you could use that as part of your attributes and then use that in reporting.
Yeah. So once you have your chart of accounts in place and built out the hierarchy that you're interested in using, you can go to the report setup. And here you can see a P&L, an example of a P&L that could be the one that's available in your ERP system. If you want to create a new one, you can click on Add, or you can copy one. We have a new one here that's a bit more condensed, so it doesn't have that many rows, that many details, but it still needs to contain all the same data. So no accounts can be left out just because we reduce the number of rows in our reporting.
Yeah.
So to combine all the accounts to the relevant report rows, we have a section for account mapping. And here you'll see all the report lines. And you can see which accounts have been mapped to each row. And here you can type in either account numbers directly. You can type in account intervals. So every new account coming in, if it's covered with an interval, it will already be fixed. Or you can go into this edit mode. And then you get a list of all accounts on the right side where you can simply tick off the accounts you want associated with the reporting lines. You can also see that these two rows right here have not been ticked off, but you can check that they have actually been added to a different row. So you kind of have a way to make sure that all accounts have been selected. And once you're done, you also have a check button where you can see if there's any warnings. So we have some messages here on overlapping intervals, which means some accounts could be shown on multiple rows.
And it could be by design or by mistake.
Yeah. Right. So once you validate this, you're good to go. And this is where it's simple to build a structure, do the mapping you want, and all of this is then being exported to Power BI. And when you consume them, or when you export them, they're exported in a wide table.
Right.
So if I
wide table, what's that?
No, so
I'm going to show that later.
Yeah. So this is a parent-child because it's you drag things into a parent-child hierarchy. Then I'm thinking I'll move to Power BI to show kind of what this looks like when you export it. So first of all, everything we export is in a standard format that fits this report. The look of this is not the most important thing.
It's a good example.
It looks good. It's a good starting point. But the value in this is the data that's being first changed and maintained in the CFO-Platform, then exported. And we have a lot of measures here pre-made, so you can use in your different visuals to create what you want. So the big point is the model in itself, because this model has been pre-made. So once
everybody has the platform, they can get this model out. So it's pre-made.
Yeah. And here it's a star schema with your fact tables in the middle and all dimensions from the CFO-Platform surrounding it. So you can slice all these fact tables on the relevant dimensions. Then if we go into the account dimension, this is what I mean with a wide table. Because what I used to create this was drag and drop in a visual overview. But the end result that I'm consuming is a list of all accounts. And then you'll see all the details. This is the account name that's added, then account names in different languages. And all the way to the right, you will see these different levels, which is part of the hierarchy levels that I built in the platform.
What I'm seeing and experience is that quite often this is how it looks like in a spreadsheet. And maintaining this in this way, like the wide dimension, getting all the different levels correctly, and if you miss one, that you double type one, then your report will be screwed up.
Yeah.
So it's hard to maintain.
But if you want to do a change, you go to the platform, to the account dimension, you move an account, and then everything else is taken into account.
Yeah, exactly.
Same if we look at the report setup. You can see these report rows. That's the same as we showed. It also contains information on formulas, on styles, on different information that can be used directly in Power BI, along with our financial reporting matrix. So everything you type in, let me just jump back to the report setup.
So you're back in CFO-Platform.
Now back in the platform.
Yeah.
Here you can see the reporting lines with formulas and also a sign factor.
So what is that?
I'll show an example of that.
Yeah.
And all the way to the end, we have the financial reporting matrix, separate column, separate information used for the visual in Power BI. And this creates this long JSON string containing all information in one string. And now I'll jump back to Power BI to show you how you can use these columns in Power BI directly. So if we go to, let's see, move this one. If we use the native matrix and we take the report setup with a JSON string of the long text I showed you, and I'll just use an actual. This is just a simple sum measure. Oh no, it's nothing. Sorry. There we go. This is a sum measure. Then you'll see on the end here that you get some numbers, and you can see somewhere in here that is called operating income, and this is a negative number. Well, that's usually because income is registered as negative numbers in ERP systems.
Right.
Then we can also see in this JSON text that there's a -1 as a sign factor, but nothing is happening in this visual. If we then change to the financial reporting matrix, you can see that it's breaking down the long string into different parts. So it's using the display name just to display it, and it's using the sign factor to
turn around it, because you don't want to have minus in your financial statement.
Not necessarily,
if you want to.
But you can choose that yourself.
Yeah.
And remember, there's also a formula field in the report setup. If you click on this button, show items with no data, you also see that you get those pre-calculated, the subtotals calculated with some different formatting defined in the report setup inside the CFO-Platform.
So you can manage, and that's a little bit the point, right? So you can manage, you don't have to be a Power BI expert to manage your dimension, manage your reports, manage how it looks like, at least the major items.
Yeah.
You can do that from the CFO-Platform instead. And then this will just consume the structures and consume the formatting.
Yeah. So if you update the format, you update the report setup in the CFO-Platform, it's going to come through to this report and any other report using that layout.
Exactly. So
it
makes it a little bit easier for finance to manage this instead of the technical, maybe the business analyst to have to do this.
Yeah. And then if you want to split these into accounts, you can add in the account dimension, the English name for this. Then you see you're able to expand these. So I can expand on operating income, and I can see how this total is broken down into different separate accounts.
Right.
And this is due to the account mapping that you do row by row in the report setup. And then inside this account dimension, you'll also see all these L1s, L2, L3. That's level 1, level 2, level 3 in the hierarchy. So if I go to level 2 name English, and I add that in the middle, you can now see I get operational income. And on the next level, I get 2 different groups of accounts. And within those, I can see which accounts have been grouped inside the dimension manager for chart of accounts.
And that's something we see, especially in multinational companies where you have maybe Spanish and English and so forth. You may have your main corporate structure or your group accounts. And then you want to, when you drill it down to the lowest level, you do want to see the local name and accounts and so forth. So that is helpful to kind of be able to do both in the same structure.
Then should I show just the group accounting?
Yeah, show the group accounting, how that works.
In the dimension, if you are on the accounts, you have group account mapping. And what this does is simply you can select which company do you want to do a change for, which account in the company's chart of accounts do you want to change or link, and which accounts in your group account do you want to map it against.
Right.
So if you have different chart of accounts in different companies or different parts of the company for some reason.
And that's quite common. You end up, you buy companies, they have different structure. That is good for that business, and it's a good way to look at their business. But when you do roll it up, you want to have that ability to link it to your enterprise or group level reporting.
Yeah. And once you've done this, export that. The result of that is a table for your actuals in Power BI, where you have one column for the group account ID, and you have a separate
transactions
for each transaction.
Yeah.
And you have a separate column for the account source ID, and that's the original accounts that it kind of got imported as.
Yeah.
But then it gets written over to the group accounts as well in this. So you can choose which one you want to use in your reporting. You have both available.
Yeah.
Which is an important point if you have different chart of accounts.
Again, this structure and the things you talk about now is the things you automatically get when you do the export from the CFO platform.
Yes.
So it's nothing you have to do yourself. Of course, that is we say that these reports that you're going to show now is like they are 80% there because the model is already there. And then it's about fine tuning what you would like to do, look at the dashboard. It's how exactly you want to do your reporting. But in essence, you have all the piping done, all the structuring done.
So now I'm going to try to do something live with live change.
That hopefully that
works. So what I have here is I have a measure just showing all my sales split by product. So I have my product dimension. It's a product group name, and it's a product ID name.
That seems like one mistake here, right?
Yeah, there's a consultant product under the consultant type under the product group. That's not correct. And also it's product in Norwegian, and it's resource type in Norwegian. So we need to first or both change the consultant to the correct product group and change the names.
Yeah.
And let's say this is how it's from the ERP system. Probably not this example, but something that you want to change.
It's more slight things that probably is mistake, not as, but sometimes it's just a mistake. And of course, if it's fundamental mistakes, you should change it in the ERP system as well. But it could be small changes that doesn't make sense to change it in the ERP system. And also maybe it's a different structure you want to build. So you need to maintain.
So in the CFO platform under dimensions, I'm on the product dimension because that's the one I'm using in the report. I can find produkter, and I'm going to change that to products. And I'm going to drag the consultant down under the correct group, which is resource type. I think that's correctly spelled as well. So now I'll save this, I'll publish this, and now I can choose which version. And this is where versioning comes in. If I only want this change in a certain version, I can select that one. But this is what I'm using in my report currently. So I'll run that.
If I had a report that is kind of budget 2025, and this is a change that is only relevant for that, then
publish it to
only to that version, and then that report will show that structure versus the current one that you're running for 2024.
And now I got a message saying it's done. So if I go to the dimension, product dimension, and I update that, then fingers crossed.
Few seconds, it should be there.
Still, it's still working.
Oh, okay, still running through the
loading.
Yeah.
And there we go. So now you see it's the resource type, it's products, and the grouping is correct. And now they're kind of summed up into their respective group hierarchy.
That's easy.
Yeah,
everybody can manage the structure now if you do it that way.
And it's the same way you work with every dimension. So it's accounts, it's products, it's markets, it's anything you want to use in your reporting. In this demo or in this standard report, we have this dashboard. We have some different variations of how you can use the data and our matrix together to look at different types of reports. Here it's kind of a traditional year, month layout with actuals, budgets, and variances. Now we don't have a budget for this year. We have a menu where you can go in and select which filters you want to look at, which department you want to look at, which periods, which version, all of these things. We have a different P&L where the different layout is the same reporting lines, but this is more dynamic, so you can change which header you want on your reporting. If you want a single one of these, or if you want to do a combination of them.
And you get the drilling that normal matrix doesn't have. You can drill down on years and
you can select these as well. Yeah. And then we have a separate one where you can look at this period. So that's depends on which month or quarter you select in the filter. You can see year to date based on that selection, and the rest of year if you have a forecast for that. But for your actuals, at least these two will be ready to use.
Yeah. So that's out of the box.
That's out of the box. My experience is that no one has taken this and just used it directly.
No.
But they take inspiration from this.
Take away the logo at least.
Take away the logo, update it with their colors, and they drag their combination of dimensions into this.
And some, especially the larger companies, has very specific color scheme that they want to implement.
Yeah.
And so forth. So, yeah.
And in the matrix, you have a lot of different functionality. So if I go to, let's see if we go to the first one. If you go to the formatting options for the visual, you can see all the options you can turn on and off and different styling you can add. One of the last features we added, one of the big ones, was download to Excel, which was a big thing. First, you take data out from the ERP through something else, you create it in Power BI, and now you can actually export it back into Excel.
Obviously, Excel has its purpose, right? So Excel is very good at doing ad hoc analysis. You want to add something that's not permanently, you want to do some analysis. Then, perfect to have it out. And everybody knows Excel quite well, I think. So well sought after. And it's not just getting the data out, right?
No, so what you do then, now I just save this file, opening it now. Then what you get is the same structure, the same colors, the same formatting, the same everything, but it's no longer linked to Power BI, so you can do whatever you want in here and type in whatever you want. You not only get all the formatting out, but you also get all the hierarchies out. So you're able to still expand on your rows if you want to look into the details of this. So you export the full structure from Power BI.
That's cool.
That's usually a wow factor. You also have a lot of different options for this, but I'm not sure. I'm not going to go through all of these details now, but there's a lot of formatting options in general here.
I think that just a quick note on versioning, right? Yeah. So versioning of data. So typical when we work on data, you have your budget, your forecast, your rolling forecast, maybe your 15 months rolling forecast. All of this gets data points, right? Mm-hmm. So would that work? Would you have reports that could facilitate and show different data sets?
Maybe.
Maybe.
You could export different versions, yes, of course. But let's see if I have some versions of my dimension. If I change to a different version.
But it doesn't have to be dimension. This was just data.
It could be any data.
Yeah, it could be data. It could be dimensions, so structure or data points. So, yeah. So you don't have to show, but that's possible, right?
It's possible. You export every combination of data. Yeah.
Good. Let's wrap up for the Q&A a little bit.
So this is a quick.
Yeah. So we've been through the summary here. So going back to the picture of why is this relevant? The source system do have some challenges when it comes to managing your master data. It's not the most flexible, typical. And having a system and tools that help you both when extract, transform portion, and then also the management of the different dimension and data points and the reports. Take the next one. Yeah, so going back to this is part of what Profit-Based does. So we kind of focus on the 1 and 2 and 3 in this case, but it's very much linked to the rest of our offering when it comes to having a CFO platform. I haven't talked a lot about this custom apps that's on kind of the right top corner, because our Profit-Based platform is a local platform. We're building all our standard solutions on it, but we do also support the finance community to build ad hoc solution on the same platform. So you reuse a lot of the data points that we talked about now. But if you're going to do Transparency Act in Europe and do all the vendor evaluation, you have all the vendors coming from the ERP system. You want to have to do that portion as an example. You could be just as simple as you want to create a new supplier or a new customer. It's multiple steps, it's accounting involved. How is that flowing in the organization today? Is it very manual, or is it kind of easy to just build a small web app that does these steps for you? And we say that we can build web app kind of 10 times as faster when you have this low code approach versus if you have to do it from the ground up. Okay, Q&A. Let's see what kind of questions we had in here.
We have a question on languages. Is French also part of the standard language in your model? Not now.
We do have multiple language that you can add, and then it's about our standard solution is in English. If you want to do French, as an example, in the dimensions, you can obviously do that.
Yeah, in the dimensions, you can name them whatever you want.
But the headers in the solution itself is in English.
So the buttons, everything you click, that's part of the system is going to be in English or Norwegian. But you're free to use any language when you build out your structures.
So Infront is we talked about our previous
reporting tool.
Reporting tool. And the best way is to
The question is, what is the best way to migrate in-front reports and dashboards to Power BI?
Yes, I think you need to start with a data model and export into, for example, a CFO-Platform where you manage your data, and then you will have your starting point of the Power BI reports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we have a question on the new feature visual calculations. Does it have any impact on the matrix? It actually works with the visual, so you can use the visual calculations that is now a preview feature in Power BI for those who are not familiar with it. It works with the matrix, but only to a certain point, because in the matrix you can also create custom rows, custom columns just by right-clicking and adding them. And if you use the JSON format that we showed in the report structure, the visual calculations will not be available to you. But if you only use visual calculations and add manual rows, it will work. So it's supported now, and we will look into supporting it even better. But it's a pretty new feature in Power BI, so we haven't been able to completely check all the different changes. Different changes we have to make to support everything.
So Helge is asking if we support ragged hierarchies, different depths and length from top to down, and that's something in the matrix. Is a very important feature.
Yes, it is. We do support ragged hierarchies. We have a feature in the matrix where you can select to either hide empty levels. So if you have some levels in the hierarchy that are blank.
Yeah,
for certain
so you don't
groups,
have to drill down through the blank to get to the levels. Yeah,
you can hide blank levels, or you can hide levels where you have repeating names from one level to the other.
Yeah, because also that's annoying.
Yeah, because then you expand on sales, and then the next level is sales, and there's nothing else. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have ragged hierarchies in the visual where you can select which ones you want to remove, and you can also specify from which level do you want to start the ragged hierarchy working.
Yeah.
So it's pretty flexible.
It's only a count that is different from group standard that has to be recorded.
Is it only accounts that is different? Yes. If you have accounts that are the same, then they will just end up in the normal account ID column. Everything that's different, you could use the group accounts mapping to change it on those accounts.
So you have to have a group account structure, and if it's one-to-one, then it's fine. If it's something else, then you need to map it.
Yeah. How can we access profit-based online platform, and how can we manage the accounts and their hierarchy?
I think we need to have a conversation because it's not just download, login.
No.
So we provide our customer with this platform, so it needs to have a conversation about how to do that. So it's not like the Power BI plugin, which is go to Microsoft Store and just download it. This is a little bit other process, but it's quick to set up. But it's a conversation about kind of integration with your current systems and so on.
There's some configuration we need to do. So we can get in touch with you and try to plan a meeting for that if you're interested. Another question on the export to Excel. If you get a message saying that administrator has restricted the download, there's a setting they have to change in Power BI admin. I can also send you a link to that, but it's on our documentation page on GitHub. You can see under export to Excel which steps you need to take to turn that on. And can we change the colors only of the label in the columns in the export to Excel? So let conditional formatting in the visual, but not in the export. No, if you add a color in Power BI, it's going to be part of the export as well. So the best option there, it's going to be one-to-one. Best way to do that is having a separate table, identical without conditional formatting, and export that one instead. Yeah. Do you see Q&A? Yes, we are through it now almost. And then Is it possible to share the PBI file with us? Thanks. It's something you will get if you get the CFO-Platform. We have similar files already available on App Stores. If you look for the financial reporting matrix, you can download a demo file, and it has mainly the same structures, but that's based on a one-time Excel dump as a demo file. It will not be the same with the connections to the platform.
Okay, I think we've been through them. So who was the first one?
So after we cover every message about the sound, it's
hopefully it was better.
Francois. Sorry if I'm
we're butchering the name.
Yeah, but we'll get in touch with you about your questions, and also to get your
Ron T-shirt,
your postal address, so we can mail your T-shirt. Yeah, I think that's every
on time, just on time,
just on time. 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
Hopefully you found this at least vaguely interesting.
No, very interesting.
Okay.
Of course.
And please get in touch with us if you have any specific questions on any of these. We can go more into details on how these things work.
How it's connected.
How it's connected, but it's hard to cover everything and without going too deep into stuff. And
then the profit base is working with the CFOs. That's what we do, the finance function, to help them excel in their efficiency and providing value to the business. So that's what we're here for.
Yeah. So
thank you, and have a great day.
Thanks for joining us.